All teams, give it everything you got.
It's time to fangirl flail with Fangirls Going Rogue.
Count me in. I don't think there's anything more important in the Star Wars universe than the fans.
News, discussion, and commentary from the female point of view.
You call this a diplomatic solution?
No, I call it aggressive negotiations.
With your hosts, Teresa Delgado, Tricia Barr, and Sarah Woloski.
Boy, am I glad to hear your voice.
Strap in, because this is where the fun begins.
I like the sound of that.
Welcome, Young Cubs, to episode 59 of Fangirls Going Rogue. I am one of your hosts, Teresa Delgado, and with me are my awesome fangirl friends in the Force, Tricia, not Barr, from Fangirls Going Rogue. From Fangirl Blog. I can't talk. Help. Dig me out the hole.
Why am I not Barr?
Oh, well, because, see, on the last couple of episodes, I say last names or I don't, and then you guys make fun of me. So today, you're Tricia, not Barr.
But now it's confusing.
I just try to make it fun, guys. Just trying to make it fun. And Sarah, not Woloski, from Skywalking Through Neverland.
Yes, except my last name, or my middle name is Anne, not.
Not. Yeah, we all have the same middle name. Teresa, not Delgado. Tricia,
but where is
not
this
Barr.
coming from? Did you see something?
I don't know.
Okay.
No, I'm just weird. I'm just
from your
weird.
brain. Okay.
This is coming from the brain of Teresa.
Not Delgado.
Not Delgado. Welcome to my world. I'm just trying to have fun because Star Wars is fun, guys. It's fun. It's not depressing and sad. I just want to do that.
And you know what? I'm so glad to be talking to you ladies today and not thinking about other things. So I want to thank you for being fun with me.
Yes. And we have all recently done some fun things in fandom. I just recently got to see Ashley Eckstein on her book tour for the It's Your Universe book tour. And I didn't think I was going to get to go. And then it turned into this crazy thing where Tricia told me, pish, go. And I said, okay, I'll drive 3 hours in the middle of the night, whatever. And I did. And then I got to see her and it was fantastic. So it was really awesome. And I got to see New Incredibles, Her Universe close at Box Lunch. I've never been to a Box Lunch before. Those stores are really cool. So that was awesome. We got clearance bags. Me and my mom and our new friend Mindy got clearance bags. It was buy one, get two free.
Wow.
So I got Loungefly Frozen Fuzzy backpack. It's amazing. For free. So yay.
Yay.
Those and then
the
Tricia,
best type of things. The best.
Right?
Free.
And then Tricia, you got to go to Galactic Night. So tell us about that. And I know you got to see Ashley there too, right?
Yeah. You know, the line was insane to see her there. And I was there to cover press. And it was at the same time that she was signing. So I was like, this isn't going to happen. It's not going to happen. And the Galactic Nights, you know, they were breaking out this Galaxy's Edge, Star Wars land, as we call it, new information that, you know, kind of giving us some sneak peeks, which I wrote up in detail at Fangirl Blog. But my favorite sneak peek is that you will be able to go experience animals kind of in a little visiting area and maybe take one home, kind of like in Pandora, in Avatar Land over in Animal Kingdom. You can take home a banshee, a little one, but they had Lothcat sculptures. So I think it might be a Lothcat.
That is so amazing.
And the crazy thing is when they were talking about everything and everybody seemed really excited in the theater. It was in the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular Theater. But when they said Lothcats, like there was like this excited squeal that rolled through the audience, like more than just like everybody knew what a Lothcat was. So I thought that was really cool. Anyway, that whole thing made me so excited. But I did go back over the line to see Ashley was still incredibly long. And I got to I just went over to say hello to David, her husband, and just, you know, say hi to Ashley. I didn't get in line in time. I think they gave the tickets out like at 4:00 or something, right when the park opened for people to come to Galactic Nights. And he drugged me over and I got to say hi. So that was kind of my special moment. So that was very nice.
Perfect.
And then, Sarah, you got to see her at her signing with Ashley Taylor.
Yes, I did. She was at the Wonderground Gallery in downtown Disney, and my mom and I got to go, and my mom met the Ashleys for the first time, which was cute. And my mom was halfway through reading her book and was really inspired by it. And we got to see some other friends there. So Jen Marie, who is at Anakin and his angel on Instagram, she was there with her boyfriend, husband. Husband. Okay. She was there with her husband and we got to say hi. And also a couple of other friends we had at Geeky Cats and Stuff was there. She was on Instagram as well, and another family. And so I took all the girls and I had us all come over and do a little video on Instagram holding up the Her Universe book and saying, so we got to shout, "Flaunt your world," if you couldn't tell what we were saying. And it's very cute. And it was fun to see everyone, because every Star Wars event is kind of like a family reunion now.
Yeah, it is kind of getting that way. And you actually mentioned that your mom got to meet Ashley for the first time. So my mom also got to meet Ashley for the first time. And my mom was very, very impressed by Ashley. And she just finished the book too. And she made a comment to me. So I have something that I would like to just briefly talk about, ladies, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So I read Ashley's book. And after reading Ashley's book, it inspired me to apply for a job for what I actually used to do, which is athletic training. I've been out of my field for about 5 years and been hesitant to go back because it's a very time-consuming job, but it's ultimately my biggest passion in life. And after reading Ashley's book, I said, you know what, this position is opening at the school that I would like to be at, and I'm going to apply for it. So I applied for it. And I just found out this past Thursday that I got the job. So I am a dream warrior now, as Ashley calls it. And it's incredible to be able to say, like, because of her book, I decided that I had the guts and the power and the confidence to do it. So yay.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited. So it's going to be very fun. It's going to be scary, but it'll be fun.
That's, like anything that has you grow in life, it's always that way. It's scary at first, but then it becomes fun once you figure out how to do it. Kind of like podcasting. I was very scared at first, and now it's fun.
So something else that has been really cool and fun in fandom involves my favorite Star Wars lady, Natalie Portman. Her birthday was this month, and as Star Wars has been doing, they make these really cool pictures with like the emoji of the character and they say happy birthday to whoever. And it was for Natalie Portman because it was her birthday. And Mark Hamill quoted the tweet and then said, "Fun fact, I've never met this woman." Well, Natalie Portman just learned about that on the Stephen Colbert Show recently, that he said that. And Colbert was very confused as to how she had never met her son. And I thought it was super funny. So let's play that clip really quick.
Your birthday was on June 9th.
That's
it was
correct.
A week ago, this past Saturday.
That's correct.
And there was happy birthday. Congratulations. Mark Hamill marked your birthday by sending out this. He said, "Fun fact, I've never met this woman." But you're his mom.
I know.
You are his mom. You've never met him? How is this possible?
It's such a shame. I would love to meet him. Mark, I'd love to meet you. Where are you? Come over.
I have spent
Did he say happy birthday?
No. So maybe
that would be a good first step.
So had you guys ever really thought about this, that Mark Hamill's never actually met his mom? Or like
I think about it all the time because she's in an ad with Alden Ehrenreich. So now Yeah, she's kissing Han Solo.
Is this in one of those scent ads?
Yes.
The fragrance ad? Which fragrance ad?
Oh, what does she do? Dior?
It's Dior something.
Miss Dior is her.
Yes.
So there's an ad with her doing that, and then she's in Annihilation, which is out now. If you guys have not seen it, check it out. She's in that with Oscar Isaac.
Oh, yeah.
So she kisses Poe Dameron. So like all the time, I'm like, yeah, Padme was married to Poe. This is like my head canon going crazy. So yeah, all these characters meeting each other, I think about all the time because they kind of run into each other in different, movies. And then your brain kind of goes, pew, because to me, she's very much Padme. And even though, I mean, she still looks so young. She is young, but she still looks like so young. And anyway, but it's so much fun that maybe they will meet, and maybe they'll meet as like Force ghosts in episode 9 too.
Well, here's the thing I don't get though. Mark Hamill seems to go to all the Star Wars red carpets. So did he not go to the prequels red carpets? Because couldn't he have met her there?
That's a good question, but you never know. Just she was very young, and maybe he came in at a different time. Just knowing how crazy those red carpets can be. That
maybe.
Well, what's interesting about this is as there's more Star Wars movies, there's going to be more Star Wars alumni to meet, and like all these crazy crossovers are happening. It makes us like, oh my gosh, now we got to see this movie. Now we got to see this movie because that person's in it. Now we got to see this movie. So I think it's fun.
I want there to be a Phantom Menace panel at Celebration.
Yeah.
There has to.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
Well, yeah, because it's 20 years.
Yeah. So I mean, she talks a little about Star Wars here and there. Her kids are into it, so maybe it'd be like, yeah, I'll take my kids. And
oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
They could do the reunion or the meeting on stage. Maybe Mark Hamill can host the panel.
Oh, it would be so crazy. Yeah, Mark Hamill hosts the panel, and then he brings out his mom and his dad. Oh, my God.
Did you guys see Hayden playing soccer?
Yes, that was the cutest thing. I love Hayden Christensen, guys.
There's the one clip where the person says, "Hey, Anakin," and he turned and looked over.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's so cute.
He's so cute.
Are you Twitter pated?
I am Twitter pated.
Oh man. So guys, they are ramping up with episode 9 and they're shooting it now. And its code name is Trixie.
What?
So weird. It's like, what is that?
And that story was broken by Fantha Tracks.
Yeah, it was broken by Fantha Tracks.
Yeah. Trixie, I don't know. It makes me wonder, like, what is it? There, if you spell out Trixie, there's a 9 in it.
Oh.
Yeah. But
true.
What else does Trixie mean? It's got to mean something because The Last Jedi was Space Bear.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a whole story behind that. So
okay, and what was I forget what the code name for 7 was for Force Awakens.
Oh.
Wasn't it originally like Foodles or something?
It was something, but then they changed it. Gosh.
Well, all I know is that it's J.J. Abrams and he's Trixie. So
you mean Tricky?
No, I'm going Lord of the Rings, Gollum. He's being Trixie,
No.
Never mind. Okay.
I'm with you with Harry Potter fandom, but not the Lord of the Rings.
The Lord of the Rings joke was lost. That was lost on Sarah. Tricia, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I'm not crazy. Okay. So anyway, J.J. Abrams is he's Trixie. So there you go.
Oh, it was Avco. Avco was the name of episode 7, but who knows what that means?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. But Sarah, you know what I do know?
What?
You are super excited about this next piece of news.
Yes. Okay, so I was scrolling through Twitter and I saw that a female composer is signed on to score Captain Marvel. Now, I know it's not Star Wars, but we can talk about Marvel because Marvel and Star Wars and Pixar and all that is under the same umbrella. So I'm calling it Yes. And it's our podcast, so we can talk about this if we want to. So
we can talk about news.
Yeah.
We can talk about anything.
Yes. And timeless. And okay. So Pinar Toprak was chosen to be the composer for Captain Marvel, which is exciting because, of course, Captain Marvel is about a female superhero, which is supposed to be the strongest superhero in the Marvel squadron of superheroes. So I learned all this in the past couple months about Captain Marvel. So I am just super amped up for Captain Marvel itself, the movie. And then now this female composer announcement really just made me super overexcited. And so I just want to go into this. Pinar Toprak has actually done additional music for Justice League, and then she was signed on to do the music for Krypton, the TV series. And so that's how she kind of made her way up to land the gig for Captain Marvel. So everyone give Pinar Toprak a big round of applause, please.
Yay!
Yay!
Okay, so since we're talking about things that aren't Star Wars but are female related, I got something.
Okay.
Wait.
Oh, yes.
Oh, wait. Okay, I'll wait.
Before we go past, just for people who like don't remember or didn't realize, Captain Marvel's the character that they're sending the pager message to at the end of Infinity War. So that's in the post-credit scene. So we will be seeing her play a role in the next Avengers movie. And she's equivalent, sort of like Marvel's Superman in her strength and her ability. So, you know, they're going to need different skill sets because it didn't work the first time. So we have Ant-Man and Wasp coming out too. And Wasp was also the head of the Avengers at one point.
Oh, cool.
And in lore, so people don't realize that either. So we're going to have some exciting things. So it's really cool to see that a woman will get to play a part in the creation process.
Yeah, and I just want to say one thing, like, I'm not really sure why I'm so excited about it. It's just that when I saw Wonder Woman last year, I just was so excited, and I knew that if I had seen Wonder Woman as a little kid, I would have been really into her. Just like as a little kid, I was into Superman, but Wonder Woman has that same appeal, only she's a girl, so it just makes it better. So, yay.
All right, Teresa.
Okay, so this has nothing to do with anything you guys were talking about, but I'm a huge Transformers fan. And while not all the Transformers movies are good, okay, Bumblebee is my favorite character, and Bumblebee is getting his own movie, which is totally exciting. And the script is being written, or is written, by a woman writer, and her name is Christina Hodson. And you can tell in the trailer that it was written by a female, which is amazing. You can just tell. And I'm so pumped about it. She's also been tapped by DC to write the Batgirl film that will be coming out. So she wrote Transformers Bumblebee, and then Joss Whedon had been writing Batgirl, and then Batgirl was kind of canceled. And then because of Christina Hodson, they have now lit the Batgirl movie again, and she's writing the script for that. So I'm just like, wah!
Yay. Superhero fatigue? Whatever. This is fun.
I think Incredibles 2 says superhero fatigue what?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The crazy thing is Incredibles 2 is also a female-led movie, and it broke the record, the animation record, for first weekend for another female-led animation, which was Finding Dory.
That's right.
So also proof that sequels can do better than the original. It might take them 14 years, but they can do better.
Exactly.
So the tickets for Star Wars Celebration did go on sale, and they are sold out. Well, they're sold out of the 5-day tickets.
Yes.
They started giving warning, like there's a lot sold on the 5 days. And then the other key tickets are going to be Saturday because they do a lot of stuff on that day. Obviously, it's a weekend. And people asked, apparently it's the same size, same number as what went on sale for the Orlando convention. So they don't plan it to be any bigger. But I was kind of shocked that it went as fast as it did. But then again, you know, Anaheim was before we had this kind of resurgence, maybe just the location. There's such a large area of people that in that Chicago area that it could go and haven't gone and, just are excited to go. So, I think there's a lot of things going into it, but it certainly suggests there's still excitement for Celebration. And I know that they've talked about that it probably have a better queue system for what happened last time where people got cut out of lines and stuff like that. So I believe they're probably going to do something like New York Comic-Con where you tap in and you're kind of logged into the system, and then you can go into another line and wait in line, or you can go do something else, but you're still guaranteed that you're going to get in, which is also how they did it at Celebration Europe. Very similar there. And they gave you a wristband instead of using a RFID, but same idea that once you waited up and got your place in line, that you could go do other things. So I think they've alleviated the line jumping problems, or they at least recognize it. That it was.
Well, I mean, they can't really do much worse. So, but one more thing about Celebration really quickly. One more thing, because you guys were mentioning that there's definitely still excitement. I think a lot of it, too, is because it's 2019. The parks are opening. Star Wars Resistance is coming. There's just so much happening in 2019 that I think people want to be there because there could be all kinds of really interesting panels and guests and stuff, because it's just 2019 is going to be a really big Star Wars year, I think.
TV also, not just animation,
streaming service.
Streaming service, all that type of stuff is gonna be unloading. I saw an interesting ad I look on Disney Careers sometimes, and they were looking for assistants or executive assistant or something like that, positioned for a director of Vice President of Live Action and Animation was the title that person would work for. And so I was like, okay, which is not something that we are aware of that somebody is, but it's not like they're hiding it. You could see it on their career thing. So, but I'm like, okay, so somebody is going to be in charge of all that.
# follow your dreams.
So did you all see the Jenny Nicholson? She's a YouTuber, her video about Forces of Destiny, the line, and her kind of critique of the toys?
Yeah, it's called Is Forces of Destiny Good? And she kind of goes into why they're not necessarily that great and what she would do to improve the line if she were in charge of these characters. And I thought it was really interesting what she had to say.
Forces of Destiny, and pretty much every other doll line for the last 8 years, has been trying to recapture the lightning in a bottle success of Monster High. One would think great news for Star Wars because they have all these interesting alien and creature designs. Very embarrassingly, by trying to showcase all of the female Star Wars characters, Forces of Destiny just kind of unintentionally highlighted that there are not a lot of those. We have tough, no-nonsense female character who can fight and cares about justice. And then we have that same character 3 more times. And 3 of those 4 dolls are white girls with brown hair. But I promise you that to a little girl, these dolls look identical. A child cannot tell you which Disney princesses have stronger jawlines and wider set eyes. They know that Cinderella has blonde hair and a blue dress, and Merida has red hair and a green dress. The point of a webisode is to establish a compelling jumping off point for children to imagine their own stories with their dolls. Since none of the Forces of Destiny episodes feature any of the dolls having flaws or insecurities, I can't imagine them making you interested in playing with the toys. I would make some changes. There are 2 different ways that you can make this work. Actually, there are 3. First way, it's not canon. You go full Monster High. They are all the same age, and they all hang out together. It is not explained how or why, because it doesn't matter. You use the characters that are in the lineup now, but you also add new characters. You say, this is Squelch Boswell. The back of her box says that she was Leia's best friend on Alderaan. She's wearing some kind of fun space dress and she's blonde. This is Mara Jade. She used to be on the dark side, but she's good now, and she has pretty red hair. All of their clothes are fabric, and you make a bunch of clothes they haven't worn before. Second way, You make none or few of the characters from the actual movies. It's original characters. This way is even less damaging to the canon because it doesn't even touch it. If you wanted to pick a timeline, you could maybe put it in the prequel era or a little bit before. Main character is new original Jedi character. Her basic doll is just sold in the classic Jedi robes. Maybe she has a lightsaber that's like purple and has a rose gold handle to really lean into the girliness of it. You could have the mean girl character and their responses to it are very like pedestrian and high school, where all the characters are like, oh, she's so mean. She's like the worst, but she's actively a Sith who's trying to kill them. Then in subsequent waves of dolls, you could repackage the characters based on a general storyline. Like, hey, this sales quarter, it's time for the Bespin Space Gala. We're gonna sell them all in prom dresses now, and they have different hairdos, so you have to buy them again. Or like, hey, it's Christmas time. Now all our girls are going on a Hoth mission, and now they're all packaged in like cute winter fashion. And the fact that the characters aren't tied to pre-existing storylines, I think would leave a lot more room for imaginative play, and put them in a purple box, and girls will buy them.
I think it's interesting. I think it's hypercritical of some stuff, but whatever. I do think though that she had some points that I was kind of thinking about as far as other lines and how kids play. I think that was probably the part that I found the most interesting. I was having a really hard time because I felt like she was attacking something I love so much.
Well, that's kind of her shtick. She really does love Star Wars and Disney and everything, but she will definitely bring it on the nose in her own kind of snarky way.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, let me try to disconnect. Let me think about this, from the viewpoint of a kid. And I think she had some really good points. And specifically talking about the way kids play and mentioning the Monster High stuff. And it got me thinking about DC Superhero Girls.
Yes.
And how they sort of revamped with DC Superhero Girls, and all these characters are together that wouldn't necessarily be together, but it doesn't really matter. And I kind of thought, I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Put it in that was one of the ways she said she could make it better if all of these characters are together in some form. And it also made me think about the Lego Friends series that, one of them is the artsy one of them is the one that's involved with STEM, one of them is the one that loves animals. And then it's sort of that train of thought transferred into My Little Pony, and it's like.
Mm-hmm. Even the fairies have that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so with all of that, it made a lot of sense. And then I thought about it from our perspective of like the canon thing. And it made me think like, are we so obsessed with canon as Star Wars fans and then also as Star Wars creators that we're hindering the brand?
Absolutely.
Because of it.
Yeah,
absolutely. And some of the points that she brought up specifically are that how all the characters look the same because they end up all being white brunettes. Typically, there is a Sabine in there, and now some people are, getting Ahsoka's out there, but it's taken a while to get different characters. But even then, all the characters are all alike. They're all good, and they all tend to have a similar personality where they're trying to talk about their do-good. They're heroes, and sometimes in these stories. And playing with things, it's about creating your own conflict and learning how to resolve it, or maybe you don't resolve it, but at least the kids are dealing with these dolls that are different, that they all have different things that they can bring to the story, and of sort of creating. And Star Wars actually knows their history of toys. That's how they got people invested in the franchise, is that we had an idea of who everybody was. They were an archetype. Han Solo was a scoundrel, Luke Skywalker was the hero, and Princess Leia was the leader who was a woman. She was different. And all these characters, you kind of dreamt where they were going to go, and people did that with the toys. People are doing it with the toys when they didn't even have the toys because they just had a promise that you were going to get a toy because they couldn't make them fast enough. So it's like, I can totally see what she's saying is it's like a really good idea, but you have to look at it from the perspective of the children. And she had some critiques of the way that the dolls are constructed and that they're not necessarily easy to undress or change their clothes and make them look differently, which would make it easier to do different things, and that they're mostly the same skin color. And so there's some things that hopefully that they're looking at as how I would like them to keep doing shorts and keep doing product lines, but how to get kids to engage in using the toys. So I saw some people talk about that the toys, that the kids don't even like toys. They feel like that's what they get when they get disconnected from their iPhones.
Oh, what? Kids?
Yeah, that some kids, they view toys as the thing they have to play with when they're disconnected.
Wow, that's funny.
Well, you know, the toy market is just so different now, and it's mainly because kids are so ingrained in technology from infants. Because I'm not a parent, so I'm not criticizing anybody's parental choices, but giving your kid an iPad or giving your kid an iPhone to keep them occupied. I mean, you see it all the time at the mall when parents are shopping. They want the iPad, they want the iPhone. They can't sit there and go to the mall and look around at stuff without those things. And it's interesting because everything's just shifting to being technology based, and you see all these toy lines that are trying to capture that technology aspect. So there's an app for the toy. So right now there's the Force Link with the Star Wars toys.
Right.
So you buy the Force Link toy and there's an app and there's the stuff, and that's how you mush the two together. And Lego's done that with like Nexo Knights, and it wasn't super successful. You know, it was successful with some other lines, but not with other things. You know, so it's the toy industry trying to figure out how they can still make toys that kids are interested in, because smartphones are all they're interested in. And so I totally understand that, Tricia, that it's like they're being punished. You know, I have to play with this. It doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I know. Thinking back to how I used to play, you know, with my Barbie dolls, I mean, the thing I remember most is changing their clothes and putting different dresses on and like different outfits. Oh, I'm going on a safari, so let's find the little shorts and the little hat. And so I really think Jenny Nicholson's idea about having the characters actually have, you know, just skin instead of molded on pants and molded on shirts and things, you know, just to have their skin so you could change their clothes and have an Alderanian ball or a Hoth sleepover. I mean, how amazing would that be?
Amazing.
No, it would be. And you know what, honestly, like as we talk about this, ideas keep popping up into my head, and I keep going back to Lego just because I really love Lego stuff.
Yeah.
They could do a Star Wars Forces of Destiny line in Lego, only the characters are the mini dolls that are in the elves and in the friend sets. And they could have the Forces of Destiny logo, and all the characters are the girls or whatever, and you could stick some of the boys in there. They have boys in the friends line and in the elves line, you know, but it's some sort of adventure that they're going on that's a playoff of the webisodes, because that's what the friends line is. They have short animated, you know, sequences that they were like webisodes, and then they turned it into a show on Netflix.
Wow.
Similar kind of concept. You know, you take one of the stories, like let's say Leia and the Ewoks, okay, and then they have a Lego set that's based off that furthers the play of that webisode.
Awesome.
You know, like that would be awesome. And it could be right in there with the Star Wars stuff, you know, and it could be Lego Juniors, for crying out loud, which is that in between step between Duplo and advanced Lego. It could be Juniors, you know, but something that furthers play.
I think, to kind of your core point, is that our concept as adults of timelines and continuity is not how kids think about stories. They're like, they don't understand that so-and-so exists in this time and place, and that person exists over there. So therefore they can't be together, which, you know, you put those two characters together and some people's heads explode because they can't be there. They're not, but kids only see archetypes. So you could have a Chopper being with a character from Knights of the Old Republic, and they would know that those two characters can't be together because they're not on the same timeline or in the same place. So you have to kind of expand your mind to think like a child instead of thinking, because I'm like all excited about Forces of Destiny. And then you think about it and go, well, maybe if it wasn't as successful as they wanted it to be. And right now the merchandise is a little low. That was reported in Deadline. They're below their expectations. And that's not just that's across Star Wars, and that there's a lot of reasons for that. But
there's a lot of reasons.
But you want them to be successful. So to be successful, you have to engage the toy lines in a way that melds with the way kids think. And because we as consumers aren't the same. I mean, I even saw somebody do kind of data points on the age of Star Wars fans, and it's getting compared to the age of people who saw the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy. The sequel trilogy is older still. So they haven't quite engaged the children yet. And so they need to be able to do that.
I think we do need to get away from that mindset of these characters can't be together, because honestly, like, who really cares?
Yeah. IDW comics are a little bit freer too, aren't they?
Yeah, the Star Wars Adventure comics, absolutely. Yeah. And we need that. We need the kids to be able to engage in Star Wars in an imaginative, fun way, to where they can create the stories that they want to create. And, if Darth Maul is hanging out with, I don't know, a Loth cat, okay, they're having a conversation. Like, whatever. He has a pet. That's cool. And we should be able to have that, because even like you were talking about, Sarah, as you as a kid, and we were changing our clothes and our Barbie dolls and all that kind of stuff. I did that too, but my Barbie dolls also hung out with G.I. Joe and with She-Ra. And that was perfectly cool. We should be able to have crossover in the Star Wars universe. It shouldn't really matter, especially for kids' toys.
Right. Well, okay, so here's a question. Are you guys buying less merchandise right now?
I think that me as the collector, my merchandise collecting has shifted. I used to buy a lot of the 3 3/4-inch figures, the Hot Wheels, a lot of the toy stuff. And I have found that I have shifted to buying merchandise that's focused more on artsy, creative, and also clothing. That's where I've shifted to. I've shifted to fashion. I don't buy as many toys anymore. I don't buy a lot of pop vinyls. I don't buy a lot of that kind of stuff, mainly because I feel like it's the same thing repeated over and over, and I feel like the quality's not great.
Yeah. What about you, Tricia?
I remember going to Force Friday before The Last Jedi, and I was getting porgs. That was definitely my thing. And I reached for that Rey's lightsaber, the FX one, and I put it back because I was like, I don't trust that this is going to be Rey's lightsaber.
Oh.
Yeah.
And my instincts were right. It really wasn't her lightsaber. She picked it up and swung it around in the movie. And then she went to get Kylo, and that didn't work out, and they broke it. So it's not her lightsaber. And so I was really, and that to me, thinking back on it, was like the first time I realized that I wasn't just going to buy anything Star Wars anymore, that The Force Awakens was like, yay, and Forces of Destiny was yay, and all those things that I wanted, I was so excited for. Obviously, with the fashion, it used to be that if there was anything with Star Wars on it for a girl, I had to buy it because you didn't know if it was going to come back. Now I can be a little bit choosier, and I tend to look at specific pieces that say things that I want it to say, and that's awesome. So like the shoes, I like Pozu shoes because they're comfortable, and but like the pops, I'm not going to buy them until I know I like the character. So I actually don't own anything Solo except for one Her Universe dress that has a Millennium Falcon on it, which I really like. That's very subtle. You can't tell unless you really look up close that it's Millennium Falcon. And that was about the Millennium Falcon and not about the movies. So I did not buy anything related to Solo.
Wow.
Yeah. So I I have almost the entire Her Universe Solo collection. But it's just because that style of clothing is my complete jam. It's so interesting. Just like you were saying, Tricia, like I can be picky now about the kind of things that I want to buy that are Star Wars fashion related. I don't have to just buy everything. But the Millennium Falcon eyeshadow from Her Universe, I use that anytime I'm putting on makeup. I use that palette, and it's like my favorite thing ever.
See, I got the Infinity War palette, and I love it.
Yeah. The Star Wars one is just as good as that one, if not better, because there's more mattes in it.
Oh,
so
okay. See, I like the sparkly stuff, so I needed the Infinity Stones.
Yeah, I mean, it's very cool, but it's the fact that we get to be picky and choosy now that I really like.
I know for me, when I collect, like, I've never been, honestly, a big collector, but if it's useful, I feel like I can buy it, you know, so clothes or makeup or a mug or a cup, you know, stuff like that is what I end up collecting and buying in terms of that. So actually, for solo stuff, what we have is the theater things. So we have this awesome sippy cup with L3's top on top of it. And then like the cup itself has the Han and Lando and I think Kira on it with the cards. And then we also have like the popcorn bucket too. So we're big suckers for the theater merchandise.
Mm-hmm. You know, I've seen some people talk about, for people who maybe haven't been as happy with the last couple of movies,
Mm-hmm.
you know, why don't you just stop engaging in the franchise at all? And for me personally, I still go to the movies. I haven't gone to any of the last two as much as I went to the first two. So I'm not giving them as much money in that time. But for me, I know how much I spent and how much I'm willing to spend and have to spend, and definitely where my support is taken away is in the merchandise. Because now I'm like, okay, you don't have to just create a character. You have to create a character that's going to make me as excited as Rey in The Force Awakens, or as excited as I was about Wonder Woman. There are characters competing in other places that make me as excited to buy something. So now there's competition. So do I want that Wonder Woman dress, or do I want the Rey skirt and stuff like that? So that's where you kind of have, then there's going to be Captain Marvel and those type of things. So,
oh boy,
I already got the Vans. So the Captain Marvel Vans. So
cool.
So, that's where it can come in, and where you can speak as a consumer to, well, I want you to raise your game. I'm not going to see the movie as many times, and I'm not going to get as much merchandise as I usually did. And that is going to reflect in their calculus, because Star Wars doesn't just rely on the film. I know people talk all the time about, oh, well, this film made so much money. It's not about how much money. They expect to make money on the film and the merchandise. Yeah. Both of those things have to happen. So you have to be excited enough coming out of the film to go and spend your money. And I think people are hesitant now to buy things that they might go and say, like my experience with the Rey lightsaber, I was like, I don't trust that that's what that's going to be at the end of this movie. So, and that's probably where some of the dynamics coming in.
Well, and that's exactly right. You have to create the excitement. So I saw Cars 3 and I ran out and I bought every single thing Cruz Ramirez I could find. And I actually just the other day at the grocery store finally found Cruz Ramirez as Frances Beltline in her car packaging. Yeah. Because I hang I buy all the Hot Wheels and the die-cast cars, and I finally found her. So I get like every single version of Cruz I find, and that's because I got excited, so they have to do that. Very important.
One of the reasons we founded Fangirls Going Rogue was to highlight the work that other women were doing in Star Wars. And recently, we've had a chance to discuss this with a few of them. Becca Harrison had been doing edits of Star Wars, just cutting out the men and only hiding the women. And she's been tweeting about it, and those blew up on Twitter. So we thought we'd have her come on the show and talk about her experience and what her work entails.
Welcome Becca Harrison to the show.
Hi.
Yay, we're so glad you can join us today.
Thank you so much.
You kind of broke out with this tweet. Were you surprised that it would get blown up so much when you talked about what were the percentages of women in Star Wars and how it just kind of unfolded?
Yeah, I was really surprised because this has been something that I've been working on for a few months. And sporadically, I've been tweeting saying, I've just done another cut and the stats aren't looking that good. So it was something that, I've been talking about online. And, I have lots of my followers on Twitter are academics and they've been kind of interested in the research process. So, it'll get like 100 likes. And then when I posted the kind of final ranking of everything up to, but excluding Solo, it just really took off.
So should we, for the listeners who maybe don't know, should we go through some of these rankings that you have in your tweet here?
Yeah. Okay. So probably unsurprisingly, the film that was in last place on just 15% was A New Hope, which I think because, the only woman character in that film with any kind of substantial speaking part is Leia. So I think that was probably to be expected. Mm-hmm. And then at the top end, again, I actually don't think this is very surprising, is The Last Jedi. What might be a surprise is that that only reached 43%. Mm-hmm. I think everyone thought, it has so many women characters in it. We spend so much time with Rey that actually it would maybe hit 50% or more. But what's kind of interesting to me is that in between those, it doesn't really tell the story that you might expect. So the prequel films from the early 2000s are actually on just 17 and 18%.
Wow.
And then you get A Phantom Menace. And then actually the next two films, which are actually better, are The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. So it doesn't kind of go in a sort of linear progressive fashion. We get a bit better and then it gets worse again. And it's really only with the Disney era films that there's been any substantial improvement.
So I have a question for you as far as developing the percentage. How did you go about doing that?
It was really, really difficult because, there's just, for a start, there are so many characters in these films and so many extras and so many kind of background characters who are named and kind of exist in the broader Star Wars universe. So first of all, I took the decision that I was only going to include women with speaking parts. So just because in part it made it easier for me to work with that much footage, that many characters, but also because I felt like the women needed to have some kind of substantial interactions with the other characters and to be part of the narrative in a kind of clear way. So that was the kind of first decision that I took. Then it was just a case of trying to work out what I counted as women's screen time and what I didn't. So I kept finding that there were so many moments in Star Wars where the camera is on a woman character, and this happens to Padme all the time. We're sort of looking at Padme, but she's not really doing anything, and she's not really got any kind of emotive expression on her face. And then what's actually happening is there's just male dialogue kind of in the background, and it's really the men that are still driving the action. So I decided that I would cut those shots out because a woman wasn't actually doing anything really participating in driving the narrative or the action forwards. And then the other kind of big decisions I had to make were around the kind of aliens and also droids. But so that they were actually, although they took quite a lot of research and I had to keep going back to the Star Wars website or to Wikipedia or sort of looking things up in interviews with writers, they're actually fairly easy to gender because they're all gendered in universe.
And mostly male, I presume.
Mostly male, yeah. I think there's one female gendered droid, I think, in Attack of the Clones. Possibly a waitress. I think it's the kind of it's like a sexist droid. But until we get to L3 in Solo, which they haven't actually had a chance to kind of do the work on yet. I think almost all of the droids are male.
Until L3 says, rebellion!
I kind of love that the first really kind of big speaking part for a female gendered droid, and she's this kind of sort of slightly shouty feminist, which has its own problems, but I did enjoy the character.
So were you a Star Wars fan all your life, or was there a point that you became interested in Star Wars?
Yeah, actually, one of my earliest it might be my earliest film memory. It's difficult to say because I can only have been about 3 or 4. Was watching. Well, I wasn't really watching Star Wars. It was on the TV. It was Return of the Jedi, and it was just kind of in the lounge. My dad was there. I think I was kind of watching it under duress, maybe, like playing with dolls or something. But then I distinctly remember it was the sequence on Endor when Leia is on the speeder and they're kind of racing between the trees, and I just grabbed my attention. And I think that probably combined for my 3-year-old self with the kind of the cute teddy bears. I hate to say it, but I think the Ewoks was the deciding factor in this. Yeah, so it kind of really caught my attention, and from that moment on, I loved Star Wars. I watched all the kind of stuff that was aimed at kids. Definitely watched the Ewok cartoons. Stuff that was aimed more at like my age group at the time, and then I've just kind of grown up with it, kind of repeatedly watching the films, having like particular moments in time when I always go back to them.
See, George knew what he was doing with those Ewoks.
Mm-hmm. He really did.
Well, that was me too. I mean, I think we were talking about that with our listeners in our Facebook group about what's your earliest Star Wars memory. And I was like being forced to watch Star Wars, and it was terrible. And then I got chicken pox, and then everything was over. Because my mom put on Return of the Jedi, and I was like 6. So.
Well, I like to think that, the Star Wars franchise has the Ewoks to thank for, generations of women growing up and demanding better representation. So we should all be grateful to them.
Princess Nisa forever.
Yep.
This sounds like a really intensive project. So how do you sit down and get it done? Because I'm just impressed with how much you had to do to go through this, to look things up, to get into the databases and stuff like that.
A kind of labor of love, I think. If you can combine two things that are going to keep me interested, it's going to be Star Wars and feminism. So I was in it for the long haul. So I started it, I think, at the end of January. So it was after that what we think is, everyone always says, oh, we don't actually know who posted it. The men's rights activist that posted the cut of The Last Jedi with all of the women taken out of it. And that was part of my inspiration for kind of choosing this method, and actually going through and physically editing out all of the men. So yeah, it has been really slow, and I've just been kind of coming back to it over the last few months, often sitting with the TV on, something on in the background, and just kind of really slowly, painstakingly going through every single film. I don't know if I really thought about what a huge undertaking that was when I started it, but I'm one of those people, once I start doing something, that's it. Like, I'm definitely going to get to the end.
So you're compiling this information for a book, is that correct?
Yes.
And can you tell us about it?
Yeah, the book is it's in the really early stages at the moment. So it's called, now I need to actually remember what it's called. The title's just changed. The first part is Decoding Star Wars: Gender, Race, and the Power of Code in a Galaxy Far, Far Away. That's it. The bigger project is looking at the relationship between the film industry and kind of computer and software industries. So I'm trying to think about like what the labor practices are in the film industry when you start relying on software and digital exhibition, and circulating things online, and thinking about, well, who's doing that work, who gets brought in, whose labour is involved, and how does their gender and race impact the kind of stuff that they're making. So it's even in my head, it's still quite a complicated project because I'm still sort of just at the very early stages of it. But this is why the question of gender and race in the films has been really interesting to me.
So right now, with where you're at in the project, what are some things that are jumping out at you?
In terms of what I'm seeing on screen, it's the kind of quality of representation. It still keeps getting me every time I go back to the original texts. I feel like I've come over all Luke Skywalker there, going back to the original sacred Jedi text. But yeah, just the fact that particularly the prequels are just so terrible in terms of their representation of women. I don't know what it was about that moment in time, and that's something I'm still kind of grappling with and thinking through. Like, why is it that certain films are better than others? And also, I guess, as well, thinking about race and like the kind of increasing visibility of people of color in the franchise. But again, it's still not perfect by any means. The other thing that's been quite shocking as well is just how few of these films really significantly pass the Bechdel test. So many of the films have women in like really strong, kind of powerful roles, but they're completely isolated from other women. Padme is always surrounded by men. Rogue One, lots of people were surprised that didn't score better than 35%. But really, Jyn is like, she's the only woman. She's just completely surrounded by male characters. She doesn't really talk to, I think she very briefly speaks to Mon Mothma, and that's it. That's the only exchange of dialogue between women in the whole film.
True.
Yeah, I always wondered when they were doing the early press for that, because Felicity Jones would say Mon Mothma was like a mentor to Jyn, and we never saw that in the movie. It was, it was almost like there was some animosity in the way, she felt against the Rebel Alliance and the way that she was presented. So I was like really disappointed when we didn't see that kind of play out. There really wasn't. Maybe she might have looked up to her at some point, but that didn't come across in the film.
Yeah, you wonder how many deleted scenes there were and what got left on the cutting room floor.
Wait, are you looking at just like the kind of the dynamics of the culture? I mean, Leia in the 70s, late 70s, that was, women were kind of like going into the workforce, but they were very isolated. Maybe possibly the dynamics of the people who are creating them. I know kind of, if you know enough about George Lucas's life and you look at kind of where he was in his life with marriages and children and all that stuff, sometimes you start to see things play out in the stories that seem familiar to his life.
Yeah, I think that kind of context is going to be really, really important in developing the sort of the arguments around, let's say, why the films work this way. I think it's fine saying, this is what's going on and this is how it's playing out. But yeah, that kind of question of why is the one that's really intriguing me. And I kind of can't help thinking with the prequel films, it's that sort of early 2000s period. The idea of like post-feminism, women no longer need to be feminist because all they need to do is make choices that enable them to do the same things as the boys. And I wonder if that feeds into it somehow as well, that Padme is kind of running around with a gun. She's just one of the boys. It's not that, nothing really changes as a result.
Well, are there ways that people can like contact you on social media, be involved with your project or support you?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm on Twitter as at Becca E. Harrison. And I have a blog which people can leave comments on, which is writingonreels.uk. And yeah, if I'm absolutely up for kind of collaborating with people, talking more about the project, thinking about ways to expand it. I've already been chatting to someone about potentially doing kind of infographics to kind of animate some of the statistics and data that I've been coming up with. Yeah, and also I think it's really, really important to kind of just keep developing this community of women Star Wars fans, especially given some of the stories in the press over the last week and some of the responses from other fans of the franchise. But I mean, I think other people, I mean, I've got my own kind of like knowledge base of Star Wars, but I love talking to anyone who has those kind of different pockets of knowledge or knows more about certain characters or can fill in gaps. Or so I'm always really, really keen to talk to anyone at all about Star Wars in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I love infographics. So as a fan of pictures,
it's a great way to disseminate information.
Yeah, I mean, there's something really, I mean, I work in arts and humanities and I watch films all the time, and I like words, and like, as soon as I start looking at numbers, like I just zone out. So yeah, so if someone can make them look pretty for me, then that's great.
And your Twitter handle real quick so people can follow you?
Yeah, it's Becca E. Harrison.
Great. Well, I think we're going to have you back on because
definitely.
Yeah, we want to see where your project's going and, get some more, like when you get further down the road, some more insights, because I'm sure as you go along, it'll be really exciting. But thank you so much for spending some time and just talking about it because it was so insightful.
Oh, no, thank you so much for inviting me on. It's been great.
Great. We're going to continue this talking to awesome women in Star Wars fandom and also doing things that are helping promote women across I wanted to bring in Amy Rickow. Welcome to Fangirls Going Rogue.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yay.
Yay.
So if you guys aren't reading 365 Days of Star Wars Women, then you guys should be, because there's some awesome women on this website. And I want to know, Amy, what inspired this?
Well, it was kind of a whole bunch of things kind of coming together. I really wanted to write more in 2018, and I'm really someone who needs a deadline to write it. And so, like, for me, like, I love Star Wars. I love talking about women in Star Wars. I had written a whole bunch of articles for Tricia's website, Fangirl blog, where I was screenshotting all the women in all of the Star Wars feature films and kind of just taking a look at like where women were, where women weren't. And I had all this kind of information from those posts, and I kind of wanted to do something with it. And I also really wanted to do something that was very positive and fun in Star Wars. Because I felt like at the end of the year, like with some of like the Last Jedi stuff, there was just a lot of like, there were a lot of emotions. I'll just say that. And I want to do something really positive, just something that was really like a love letter to Star Wars. And so that's kind of how I decided just to kind of dive in and for me, it's learning more about Star Wars too, because I write about a lot of women in this project that I am not actually familiar with.
I'm going to assume you're a Star Wars fan.
Yes.
You're going to tell us a little bit about how you became a Star Wars fan and maybe like your earliest Star Wars memory?
Sure. Well, my earliest Star Wars memory is one of, if not the earliest memory that I have. I was 4 when A New Hope came out in theaters, and I had this really vague memory. I have no idea why, but it's when the blast coming out of the Death Star destroying Alderaan. Like, I remember that, seeing that in a theater, and that's it. That's my first traumatic Star Wars memory. But we always had the Star Wars toys. My sister and I saw, Empire Strikes Back, which I also remember liking quite a bit. Like, I was Princess Leia for Halloween around this time, but it was really when Return of the Jedi came out. I was 10 years old. I just completely fell in love with Return of the Jedi and was completely hooked ever since. Like, just definitely like, Star Wars all the time. And, my fandom has kind of gone in ebbs and flows, throughout my life, but that is basically how it started.
It sounds like Return of the Jedi was everybody's hook. It's the theme today.
Is it the Ewoks?
Well, I think it was my age more than anything, because I think that I was in it, like, I had a really great childhood. Like, I have a really great family. Like, I don't have but like, if I can point to a year, like, where I was having some problems with friends, or like things were starting to like not be as easy because I was getting kind of older. I think that like between 10 and 13, and like when I first saw Return of the Jedi, and then when I kind of was, just becoming more and more kind of excited about learning about Star Wars and all of that stuff, that's such a challenging age and so much is going on. And I think that for me, like I found Return of the Jedi to be so escapist and so fun and so, you know, just lovely. I suppose.
Yes, I do.
So I think that, like, for me, I think it was more of an age thing. I do think that Return of the Jedi is just such a fun film that it is easier. Like, my daughter is now 10, and she will very, very happily tell anyone that she is not a Star Wars fan because she knows it upsets me. And although she was desperate to go to Star Wars Celebration, I told her that, like, we're going next year, and I was just like, well, I didn't think you would want to go. And she was like, oh, no. Like, is it an event? Like, I want to go. Like, but she, even though she is not a huge fan of Star Wars, doesn't want to watch the movies, she is all about Ewoks. Like, definitely all about Ewoks. Like, wants Ewok stuff. Like, she's very, very excited about it. So
that's interesting. The age you got into Star Wars, I was the same age as me as well. I think at that age you are old enough to really understand what's happening and not be just drawn in by the excitement of it, but by the actual storytelling that's going on underneath.
Yeah. No, I think that, you know, it's not just kind of, you know, battles and people shooting each other and, you know, stuff like that, but you can kind of get into the whole nuance, like the whole family aspect of Star Wars was really like driven home in that movie. And I think it's just a really easy movie to connect with in a variety of ways.
I always think about Sam Witwer. I think was it on Full of Sith where he talked about he was young and in Return of the Jedi, it was like, oh, really bad things are happening, but Ewoks, really bad things are happening, but Ewoks, you know, and that's kind of how it feels like it. Like the movie's like very intense. There's a lot of stakes going on, you know, there's brothers and sisters and my dad's really bad, but maybe I can make him better. And everybody's going to die if we don't stop the Death Star, but Ewoks, you know.
It's kind of like the Marvel films, how, you know, you have, you know, oh my gosh, the galaxy is in peril, but humor, let's laugh at Thor, or, you know, that kind of thing. Got to take the edge off.
Every film franchise has its Rocket Raccoon.
So, Amy, you know, you decided to tackle women in Star Wars. Are you also kind of tackling the representation of women in Star Wars?
I think I am kind of, but really like basically what I'm doing is it's like a shout out to like an actress, a female character, a writer, an artist, someone on the crew, or just someone kind of like very important, even in my eyes, to the Star Wars kind of universe. And because I'm doing 365 of them, like my posts are not super long. And I think that like, you know, I keep on like, you know, creating all of these data points. And I feel like, and, you know, maybe next year, like I'll take a look at like what I created in 365 and then like talk more about that. Like, but I don't have the time to go like super in depth on who all of these women are, but definitely like people who follow the project on Twitter have started conversations and we've talked about, you know, different aspects of like how women are represented. I went into it a little bit more kind of like, I did kind of like a deep dive on like the Naboo handmaidens just because I love them. And so like, I talked about, you know, them a lot. I talk more about kind of more analysis of how women are used and how they're not in the fangirl articles that I do. Cause that's more of like a long form kind of, you know, format where I can really like talk about it. But the 365 is more kind of, here are these women, here's where you can find them, and here's more where you can learn more about them. I think of it as kind of an interesting jumping off point. Because really, I mean, really what I want with this project is I want young girls to find this website and look and see at all of the women who have contributed to the Star Wars universe. And so if they ever feel like someone says they don't belong or they're not a real Star Wars fan or they're not as much of a fan as other people, and really, and for boys too, I mean, really for everyone, just to be like, if you love something, there are so many ways that you can contribute to your, you know, your passion. Like you don't have to, you know, star in a Star Wars movie to be important for Star Wars. Like the artists are important, you know, the writers are important, the people doing the matte paintings are important. Wow. So that's kind of my goal.
Yeah. It's important too, because people think that the Katie story, Star Wars Katie, who, you know, got bullied. This is years ago now. How many years has this been since Star Wars Katie? And I still see people say in stores, oh, you don't want to play with those. Those are boys' toys. I still see that about Star Wars toys. And I've still seen people say, my daughter was told that girls can't be Star Wars So it still happens. So it's so important to have this something like this there so they can go, oh no, I see all these ladies that worked on Star Wars and all these female characters. I can find something that's just like me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know this doesn't really have to do with Star Wars per se, but it hits on that. Working at Lego has given me the opportunity to really actually try to change that stigma of the boy-girl toy thing. And you get a lot of parents or people who come in and they say, like, I need a Lego set for a girl. And I'm like, oh, well, that could be anything in here. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yes. Or, you get a parent that says, well, since it's a girl, like, I really only get friends or elves. And I'm like, well, why? Lego isn't for boys or for girls. And it's like this light bulb moment when I tell them that. And I almost feel like I'm going to get in trouble. Like I'm going to make a parent mad. But they were like, oh, well, I hadn't really thought of it that way. Because a lot of the girls that come in, they go to the Lego Star Wars sets. They don't just walk straight over to Lego Friends, so it's really cool. And I love it when little girls get like the city sets of like the miners or, stuff like that. The real like people with all the construction outfits on and everything. It's just really cool to watch and see. So I totally get that.
How do you sit down and know that you have to do this every day and make it happen?
Well, I don't. So unfortunately, my idea for this project happened very, very late, last year. I really wish I would have thought of it like a year ago and like had several months to kind of plan out who was I going to profile, like all of this. But I really decided I was going to do it on December 28th. And so I was really like, at first I was really working on it quite a bit, like every day, during like my kids, winter break and just trying to like get it all together. Now I'm at a point where I work on it like once or twice a week and schedule it out. But my schedule is very, very messy. Like I try to go from like, sometimes I do theme weeks. Like I'm doing a theme week this week where I'm doing pilots. And so there's a lot of film characters that are coming out, this week. But I try to kind of mix it up between actresses and characters and writers and, and I do canon and legends. Like to me, it's all Star Wars. And that was actually a really important part of this project to me is that like, to me, like there is no difference between legends and canon. Like I know what the difference, like I know literally what the difference is, but like to me, it really is all Star Wars. And I don't care for people referring like, oh, Legends like is dead. Like, oh, it's only canon. And like, I feel like there's all this tension between Legends and canon and I don't get it. Because I'm just like, it's all Star Wars. It's all fun. It's all made up, yay. Like, can't we just love it all? And so I jump back between Legends and canon all the time. And some of the posts I do about Legends characters are some of the most beloved because people are like, oh, like it's like an old lost friend, who's been, found, that I like brought to kind of the center, of attention. But I really I definitely fall behind in my schedule. I have not done the post for tomorrow, which I did not realize until earlier today. But I usually try to schedule out at least a week ahead. Like I always want to schedule out way, way ahead. But something unexpected that has happened is that I had no intention of doing any interviews as a part of this project. It never occurred to me that anyone would want to do an interview or that I could get anyone to do an interview. And then I thought I might try like a month or two in. And it turns out that the Star Wars community is amazing. And a ton of people want to do interviews and have been doing interviews. But those do take up more time. And so every time I kind of feel like I'm getting ahead or like, scheduling out a little bit so I can kind of, take a little breather from the project, I end up getting embroiled in a whole bunch of like interviews, which is great. Cause I think that the interviews are the most important part of this project in the end. I think those are the ones that definitely get the most people looking at them. They're the ones that are shared the most. And I think that those are the most meaningful, because I ask women what you asked me is like, how did you become a Star Wars fan? Like what, and how did you get to where you are now? Which I think is very, I loved reading stories about like how women became producers and directors and writers when I was growing up. Like I found all of that very inspiring.
Well, that begs the question. Who did you interview? Who have you interviewed so far?
My first interview was with Zena Duncan, who was the costume buyer for The Last Jedi. And I got to know her from Twitter for being an amazing Hera cosplayer. She was the first interview, which I always appreciate. Catherine Tabor, Julie Dolan, who have both are voice actresses who have done like Leia and Padme. Jennifer Heddle, who works at Lucasfilm Publishing. No, I'm not going to be able to think of anyone. I've done Delilah Dawson, E.K. Johnson, Beth Revis, who've all written like recent Star Wars books. I have several like voice actresses that I'm working on. I'm trying to get all the Leias. There's so many women who have been involved in bringing Leias, and they're all really, really nice from what I can tell. And so really Tricia, I've interviewed Annalisa Filion, who's doing Looking for Leia. And so I'm really trying to kind of hit on every, single person. I have an interview with, I'd already done a post for Amy Beth Christensen, who is going to be the art director for Star Wars Resistance. But I have an interview with her that's almost ready to publish to kind of update. And I feel like this might just kind of be like this weird thing that I like, I'm constantly trying to like harass people into giving me an interview until the end of time. So I'll be like, hey, like you were day number 40. Will you please do an interview with me?
It's a good calling card.
But what I think is interesting is that like I don't have a huge Twitter following. Like I am not like a huge like well-known fan. And when I email these women or I connect with them on Twitter or some other way and I ask them for an interview, like the number one thing that these women say to me is that they are honored to be a part of it, which is the biggest compliment that they could give to me. But it really just makes me feel really, really good that I'm spending my time doing this, because I think that it really is kind of this little, it's just kind of like, it's this thing that I have done, like I like projects that have a start and an end. And this one luckily does. There's 365 and, that's it. And so I think that, it just really, it is expanded into something more than I thought that it would be, which is great.
Yeah, that's very cool. Although I did just think of another project idea for you, but I won't tell you because I don't want you to feel like you have to do it next.
I've already, I was joking recently on Twitter. I was like, there is a part of me that wants to do 365 droids or 365 pictures. So I was like, please.
Okay. So I'll tell you. I'll tell you. So it's 365 people of color in Star Wars, but that was what my next thought was.
I feel like it could be my lifelong project, although I think that it would I think it might strain my family relationships.
Yes. On Fangirl, you've done breakdowns of the Star Wars movies, and you also talk about race in those articles and stuff. Beyond gender dynamics, where can Star Wars improve for women of color?
I think just in general, having more women in color in front of the camera, having more women in behind the camera, definitely, I'm definitely on the board of I want to see more women writing female characters, both for TV and for movies and for books. I really like a lot of the journals that have come out of from Rey or Rose and Paige, but I would like one of those to be written by a woman. I think that, I would just, I don't get why they're not. Even though I think that the books that have come out are actually I have purchased them. I like them quite a bit. So it's not a quality kind of complaint. But I just think that, it would be nice for people to hear Star Wars stories from a woman's perspective. Can we talk about Solo, spoilers?
Sure.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
I just don't think that if a woman wrote Solo, I don't think that Val would have died the way that she did. I think that Val's death was very similar to Padme's death, where it was basically the fat character just kind of it was a really cool character. I really liked Val, and it upsets me that no one's talking about how cool Val is, because it's so just focused on how that choice that she made to sacrifice herself, which in my opinion did not make sense. And really was dominating in my view of her entire character. I don't know if I want to say it ruined her character, but I didn't think that was a very good choice. It just didn't make any sense to me. And I just wish that, I think it was such an important role for Tandy Newton to have in that movie. And I feel the cast-ins had such a knowledge of Star Wars lore and history, and they just obviously love Star Wars so much. And they had all of these Easter eggs and these little love letters throughout the entire movie about, to Star Wars fans. And part of me was how could you not understand how important that character of Val was? And how could you not understand that this was, that people were going to be upset about her character dying the way that she did? Because I didn't even think that her character was going to be in the movie that long. Like, just because of the, I didn't think that she was going to be in the entire movie. But I'm not convinced that if a woman was writing that movie, I don't think that choice would have been made.
Well, did you read Kay's article on Fangirl about the women in Solo?
I did.
And she makes a point that every character in that crew states their kind of dream or intention, except for Val. Like Beckett,
that is true.
Yeah. It's very weird. Like Beckett wants to play the whatever Valacord. I think that's what it was. And Rio says what he'd want to do, and Chewbacca kind of gives his idea, which we get translated. And obviously we have Hans, but Val never gets that moment, which is very conspicuous in the whole scheme of the story.
Well, I honestly did not pick up on that. And I just loved Tandy Newton a lot. Like, I was so excited that she was going to be in this movie. Like, I didn't care who she was going to be. I was excited that she was going to be there. And I think that she did a really, really great job as playing Val. And I really like I really like Solo. Like, I thought it was super fun. I enjoyed it for a variety of reasons. But that was the one thing that I was just kind of like, oh, like, why? Because
I think Tandy had a reason why Val existed. It's just that it never came out on screen. Like, you could tell when she was playing her part, she knew what her story was, but it just never made it to the screen.
Yeah. I was upset about Val's death the same way I was upset about Paige's. I felt like it was very similar, but I was also really upset about Rio because Rio was awesome. And then he was like, bye. And I'm like, okay, well, thanks. I didn't get attached to him too much.
Did you guys see the guy who tweeted about his little kid saying, "I love the wee monkey, Daddy. Where's the wee monkey?"
Oh, that's
no.
Yeah. I have to find this tweet. It's so funny. I'll try to put it in the show notes. But he's like, "Daddy, the wee monkey. Where did the wee monkey go? Is the wee monkey coming back?" And that was Rio.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I felt like Rio, I enjoyed Rio quite a bit too. And so I was sad when Rio died. I thought that Rio's death made more sense, because they're doing a heist. Like, sometimes people get shot and killed and, die in a heist. The whole thing with Val, if I felt like she was sacrificing herself to save Beckett, that would make more sense to me. But I felt like she was sacrificing herself for a job that didn't have that the stakes weren't high enough for her to make that call. So that just, that it didn't ring. It just, it just kind of took me out of the moment. And I think that's with movies, anytime something kind of takes you out of the moment, that's kind of an annoying thing. But that, it does happen. It happens in most movies if you spend enough time watching them.
That's true.
We didn't get to talk about the fact that you did work at Lucasfilm for a while.
I did. It seems like such a long time ago because it was before I was married and had children. But so I had a background. I was a film studies major. I worked in film preservation for many years in Los Angeles after I studied in some film preservation at the George Eastman House in New York. And I moved up to the Bay Area and worked for about a year at the Lucasfilm Film Archives at Skywalker Ranch in a kind of like a starter role. It was kind of it's very funny because it was from where I was working in Los Angeles to where I was working at Lucasfilm, it was several steps down, it was not as important of a job as I had in Los Angeles, and it paid way, way, way worse. But I was like, but it's Star Wars, so I'm going to do it. And I also had an hour and 45-minute commute. I mean, it was hysterical. It was the only reason I was doing this was because I just love Star Wars. But I was able to help collect information for a database, and I did a preliminary cataloging of the original trilogy deleted scenes before they came up with the Blu-ray. And so that was fun, just to kind of glance there. And it was just a really, really fun place to work with really cool people. But it just is funny because the office that they now work in San Francisco opened about it was a week or two after I had moved to Colorado, which is when I stopped working there, is that my husband and I decided to move to Colorado to start our family. I'm going to go in July to a trip to the Bay Area, and I am I write for StarWars.com occasionally, and I've talked with them about like, can I come and like visit when I'm in the Bay Area? And they're like, oh yeah. And so it's so funny to like, I feel like this is going to be like a full circle moment where like I will be able to kind of, you know, I mean, because like Revenge of the Sith was just about to come out when I like when I was there, and so it just seems like it seems like it's the ancient times, you know, like it wasn't that long ago, but it really, really seems like it was a long time ago. But it was definitely a very, very fun experience.
Nice. So I do have one kind of little question for you. So none of us are parents, and you are a parent, and you have a daughter. What is it like being a parent who's a fan of something and trying to get your child to like it, but then they just don't?
It's sad. I think I actually wrote about something like this with Fangirl. I mean, well, it's funny because like my husband's also a Star Wars fan, and probably not as much as I am, but like he still really, really likes Star Wars. And I'm pretty sure Star Wars came up in our wedding vows somehow. Like, you know, like it's like one of those. We didn't have a Star Wars wedding, but it did come up. And we really went back and forth about when do you introduce, like when can we, you know, show her Star Wars? When can we show her Star Wars? And we showed it to her, I think when she was 4 years old, which was how old we were. We figured that would be okay. And when you watch A New Hope, like that whole movie is very tense. Like there's just, to me, it's like tense, exciting. And to her, it was tense, terrifying. Like, and so like, and it just didn't get better. And so I don't even think we made it all the way through just because I was like, this is not working. You know, like this is like, this was too early for her. My son, watched it way, way earlier. I think he just ended up kind of like seeing it like when he was like 2 or 3, and he was just like, oh yeah, that's great. So like, I always kind of like had it like, it was always like on offer. But for my daughter, she's excited about Star Wars fashion. She wears Star Wars fashion. She is excited about that. She likes a lot of the artwork, but she just is not interested in reading the books or watching the movies. And my son kind of likes it. Like he likes watching the movies. Like he watched a little bit of Rebels, but like for him, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are way cooler. Marvel is way cooler. Minecraft right now is for sure way cooler. And so I really like am a very hands off. Like I'm like, love what you love. You don't have to love what I love. Like, you know, they know that when Star Wars toys come in, they're for me. They're not for them. Like, and so I'm just like, hey, maybe this will be easy, you know, but like we were just at Denver Comic-Con and we got like a mystery box that had a whole bunch of pins, and my daughter like opened it up and like there was an R2-D2 pin, and she was just like, well, I feel like this should go to mommy, but he's so cute. Can I have it? I'm like, of course you can have it. Cause I'm really, anytime like they're into anything Star Wars, I'm like, yes, you know, do you want that Star Wars necklace? Yes. You know, do you want that? You know, like, absolutely. And, you know, we're going to Celebration next year. I've never been. I think it'll be like really, really fun, you know, to show them that. But like I showed them, like I'm working as a researcher on the documentary, a docuseries now, Looking for Leia, and I showed them a trailer for it, which to me, like I can't watch that trailer and not start crying.
Yeah.
It brings up a whole bunch of emotions, and they're more like, yeah, okay. You know, those costumes were kind of cool. You know, like, I mean, it just, you know, it's just, you know, they just don't, you know, I think that they just think it's kind of funny that their mom likes it so much. But, you know, I sometimes, you know, get a little bit jealous of people who, you know, like can share their love of Star Wars with their kids. But really, like, it's fine if they don't like it. I don't want to.
Out of curiosity, what's your daughter into? Because we talked about your son, but what's your daughter into other than the Star Wars fashion and stuff?
She really likes Disney, like anything Disney, she's very excited about. Like she loves The Descendants. She likes a lot of like the Disney shows. She likes just like a lot of artwork. She now is obsessed with makeup, which I'm just like, oh geez, you're 10. Like that's you're starting to frighten me now. But she really, and so Disney is something that, you know, well, it's funny because she likes, she goes to see the Star Wars movies with us, and, you know, she complains a little bit, and then it seems to be kind of excited when she's there because she likes Chewbacca a lot. So she was very, like, Solo was an easy one to kind of, I was like, there's Chewbacca. He's in it a lot. Like, okay, let's go. And for her, she likes Solo probably more than any other Star Wars movie because there wasn't as much fighting. Because, like, she really doesn't like fighting and battles. And, you know, Star Wars, like, there's battles, you know, like, and it's the same with Marvel. She doesn't like Marvel because it's all about fighting, like good guys versus bad guys fighting. She just, you know, isn't nearly as interested in that. But like, you know, she'll watch like The Descendants like a million times over, and like she's really into that. Like that is like all okay. Like she's getting into like the classic like Winnie the Pooh characters and like going back and seeing a whole bunch of like, you know, Winnie the Pooh. She loves DuckTales like a lot. So she, you know, it is kind of interesting to see where she is going. I kind of feel like if she discovered Star Wars stuff on her own, maybe she would like it, but maybe because she knows I like it, she's like, nah, that's not for me, you know?
Yeah, that's always an issue.
Yeah. And so I'm like, you're a rebel. That's totally fine. I get it. Like, I want everyone in my family to, you know, embrace what they like and to not feel, you know, forced into Star Wars. That's
right.
not fun.
Well, Amy, where can people, given the name of your website and then on Twitter, where they can find you and see all the women that you put up for the rest of the year?
So it's 365starwarswomen.com. And on Twitter, the easiest way is hashtag 365StarWarsWomen. And my Twitter is at Amy Rickow. So it's AMYRICHAU. And definitely, I still, you know, I love getting ideas about like who to include. I love to interact with people. That's like, I would not have made it this far if I would not have received so many nice messages from people. That really, really means a lot to me. Because sometimes I'm just like,
Yeah, I remember you like crowdsourced Jaina Solo when you were like, oh, I'm going to do her. People send me your favorite things. So that's always fun.
Yeah, no, and like it's really like it's great to hear like what these characters, you know, mean to everyone.
Sidious, Anakin, Luke and Leia, Qui-Gon Jinn, C.O. Bibble, Kylo Ren, Salacious Crumb, Bib Fortuna, Boba Fett, Amidala, Wicket, R2-D2, BB-8, I can barely keep it straight. It's a character discussion. It's the fangirls on character. It's a character discussion.
Since earlier we were talking about being excited for the franchise, I actually think that Galaxy's Edge at the Disney parks is going to be a way for people to get excited about Star Wars again, because this is one of the things I talked about. You can really be who you want to be and make your own adventure in this. Sort of like it'll be like choose your own adventure. So
that's not good news for me.
No, it's awesome.
So I wanted to see if you were just imagining now, if we were imagining now what adventures we'd want to be on. So who would you want to be? Like, what type of character would you want to be if you go into this Black Spire Outpost, which is the name of the location, which I think is really cool. So we know we have the castles in all the parks that we look to as the focal. The Black Spire will be your focus. So who are you wandering into Black Spire Outpost looking up at this thing?
I'm a Jedi.
I'm a purple Twi'lek bounty hunter.
Well, Teresa was really specific. Are you hunting for something?
Yes.
You're hunting for Maul, aren't you?
Whatever gets me the most money.
She's looking for a gig. She's looking for a gig.
I'm hoping you can go in.
I'm looking for love. Looking for love in Alderaan places.
Oh, I'm hoping you can go in different days and be different things, because I'd want to experience everything. So like first I'd want to be a Jedi on the light side, and then I'd want to be like a smuggler, and then I'd want to be on the dark side.
Yeah, I want to be a bounty hunter. I want to be a Sith. I want to be a Jedi. But I want to be a Jedi consular, you know, the kind that like heal people with the Force.
Oh.
Like that kind. Can I be that kind?
Yeah. What about you, Tricia?
I would definitely think I'd want to be a Jedi. That would be one of the ones I'd want to be, but just a pilot. A pilot looking for something to fly. Yeah. And I'd steal that ship. I'd be like, hey, I know this droid named L3, and I know she's hanging around here somewhere.
Right? Because she mentions it in Solo.
There is a drop for Black Spire Outpost in the movie, which I thought was really cool. Mm-hmm. Definitely. Mm-hmm. And when you go there, Teresa, as a bounty hunter, you're a purple Twi'lek, right?
Yes.
Okay. Who would you want to meet when you go there?
Peepka. Can I meet Peepka?
Wait, is that the Ewok in Last Shot?
Last Shot.
That knows about technology. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Hera, can I meet Hera? That'd be fun. I want to meet a really cool droid that's also like super snarky like Chopper and wants to make money too.
IG-88.
Yeah. No, I don't like him. I need one of the little ones. It's got to be a little cute one. I don't like IG-88. IG-88 looks weird.
He does. I'm not totally into IG-88, but I know that some people really are. So,
why?
Why? Or I want to meet a Sith, and then like learn the ways of the Force from the Sith guy, and then turn into like a former bounty hunter / Sith.
You know, Sarah, it was actually a good question. Why? IG-88, among other things that were toys back in the day, some people never forgot them. They never forgot those toys, and that character is like in the movie for bloop that long.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
See it in, just like Boba Fett. Boba Fett has what 5 or 6 lines in the movies, and people are like, Boba Fett, he's on everything. I'm like, he doesn't really do much, but people imagined great things. I'm surprised Teresa didn't say she wanted to meet Boba Fett or the dude in his suit, but
that will work. Thank you for that.
Sarah, who would you want to meet?
I'm gonna go Twi'lek here. I know you already called it Twi'leks, but I'm gonna say it would be fun to meet like a group of Twi'leks and go dance with them. And I'm sure they could teach me some really amazing dance moves. And I think that would be fun to be a little drunk and dance with the Twi'leks.
They could teach you Twi'lek twerking, whatever that is. Maybe it has to do with like their leku or something.
Yeah, that would be fun. And wouldn't it be fun if, like, I don't know if this is going to happen, but if they have those walk around characters and one of them suddenly grabbed you and took you aside and set you off on a mission with them.
Oh, that'd be really neat.
I don't even care what character it is, but like you had to go discover something or go on some kind of scavenger hunt thing and find some coins, some credits, something like that.
Yeah. I like it.
Tricia, what do you think?
I think I'm a pilot and I'm on a secret mission and I have to meet somebody named Fulcrum.
Oh.
Now Fulcrum could be a lot of different people.
I know.
So
but that would be cool if we could meet Ahsoka.
It would be cool if you could meet Ahsoka or Hot Callus. Although apparently he has a boyfriend now. So
is that Zeb?
It won't stop me.
Maybe he's pansexual.
He's just beautiful in general. Anyway, and then if you could go into the pet store or the petting zoo or whatever this place is, this place where you could meet any type of animal and perhaps take one home, what would your pet be?
So many choices.
A baby Purgle. I'm just kidding. That would be really hard to deal with.
I mean,
I don't know. I think a convery. I think I would want something that can fly around with me, you know? Kind of like a pirate.
Okay, I'm picking Porg because that just has to happen.
So then I'll go with Lothcat because I think they're super cute.
You know, our fandom, our little group started out with Tauntauns, and we've all ditched the Tauntauns.
I was just thinking though, what about a baby Tauntaun? But they don't sound as cute.
Well, I'm looking at mine.
Little miniature toy Tauntauns.
Yeah.
Someone have to breed toy Tauntauns, like toy poodles.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. If we can do that, if we can breed mini Tauntauns, then I want one of those.
And they'd have to breed the smell out of them. They don't smell. They're really sweet. Their horns are soft.
Or maybe we have to buy Tauntaun deodorant soap so that they smell like flowers or something.
That's a good idea.
Oh, okay. And then so the last thing, if you were at this Black Spire Outpost, would you aspire to eat at a fancy dining facility or a wretched hive of scum and villainy cantina?
Come on, you got to go with the wretched hive. I mean, who knows who you're gonna see or what's gonna transpire in there? Like that would just be fun to go and people watch or alien watch.
Oh, I know. As a bounty hunter,
yes.
I would go incognito to the fancy restaurant because my whatever that's called, whoever I'm trying to get, my
Your bounty
is probably like a rich fancy person.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to go and like be in there so I get to wear rich fancy clothes.
Like Kira.
I'd take the Kira dress.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a nice dress. Definitely a plus. Sarah, where would you eat?
Oh, I said it. I said the Cantina of Scum and Villainy.
Oh, you're Scum and Villainy, and I have to go fancy.
Oh.
I'm afraid that if I went into a cantina, I would lose an arm. That seems to happen a lot.
I'm afraid if I go into a cantina, I'm going to drink something that's going to poison me because I don't know what it is. Or I'll start betting on Sabak and then lose all my money.
Yeah. Is there going to be both restaurants or have they
I think there'll be
confirmed
multiple type of restaurants. Yeah, I think there's going to be all types. So you got to pick if you want to have like Nerf steaks or pork wings.
Ew. Or something in the middle, like a Subway, like Tauntaun burgers.
Ew.
Now, you could have. I would say if you had your pet porg, you could probably invite Chewbacca to accompany you into the cantina, and all would be safe.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe the little toy tauntauns have a protective instinct.
Maybe they have glands where they secrete their smell to keep people away from you.
So I think as we roll this episode out, maybe we should have Sandra tweet out these same questions and people could answer what they would do at Black Spire Outpost, who they would be, what they would want to get as a pet, where they would want to eat, all those things. So we'd love to hear your responses as Yeb Cubbers to how you would enjoy the universe.
Well, that brings us to the end of another episode, and in between shows, you can visit us over at fangirlsgoingrogue.com. On Twitter, we are at FGGoingRogue. Tricia is at Fangirl Cantina. I am at Ice Cold Penguin, and Sarah is at Jedi Tink, and our social media manager, Sandra, is at Geek Chic 9.
You can email us anytime, contact@fangirlsgoingrogue.com. Facebook, just type Fangirls Going Rogue. Tumblr, you type fangirlsgoingrogue.tumblr.com.
And you can join us in our Facebook group where we will also probably have these questions. And you can just search Facebook for Fangirls Going Rogue group, request to join, and answer those questions that pop up. And on Instagram, we are at FG Going Rogue, or you can leave us a voicemail. We are 331-21 Ewoks.
And please go to iTunes or wherever you listen to us and leave us a positive 5-star review. We need your reviews so more people can find us.
So until next time, everyone. Da 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 da. Yub.
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 Yub. Hi, Yub Cubs, and welcome back to episode 59. Oh, crap. You don't like me to say that. Okay, back up.
Oh, yeah, back.
Rewind.
Are you recording?
Yes.
Me?
Okay. No, not you.
Oh.
What? I am.
What? Huh?
I am. What?
We're recording.
Meow?
We're all good.
Meow?
We're all good. Roof, go.
Everything's fine here. Okay, now.
Yeah,
So,
I think that it's really, that line is really, really cute. I mean, she nailed it. Unfortunately, I don't think that as many people were into the movie as that line could have been really popular if there were a lot of people into the movie.
yeah, and I feel like the line itself has still been pretty popular because it's just Star Wars, and people are sort of disassociating it with Solo. Like, it's just a really cool Star Wars collection. But regardless, so I have all that. But other than that, Solo-wise, I don't have anything other than that clothing collection. But when we called you, was it like that jazz song? It was like doom doom doom.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was.
Wow, I gotta update this thing. I feel left out.
Oh no, that's scary me. No, it's scary. Like you know, if you've ever owned a lab or a Labrador Retriever, you just never get the smell out. So
No, you don't.
yeah, just not going to happen. So
chocolate labs and yellow labs just always smell like dog.
Yep, they do. And then when they're wet, they really smell like dog.
Smell like wet dog.
My little baby Dax, he always smells good, but he likes his baths and his jasmine flavored baby shampoo.
Ooh.
So Amy, Teresa, say hello.
Hi, the snarky one is me.
And Sarah, say hello.
Hello. I will tell you how to do the microphone. I don't know. That came out totally wrong.
What was that? I will tell
Wow.
you how to do the microphone.
I mean,
going on the
I'm the technical person on the audio. There you go.
That's going on the outtakes.
Oh boy.
The next time I see you in person, I'm going to have you do the microphone dance for me. So you guys have an idea.
All
Cool.
right. That was fun. That was nice to have some positivity.
Yes.
I know. Good Lord.
Awesome.